Hi ladies, welcome to Or Pnimi. Welcome back to Or Pnimi. This is Sarah Tova Best. This is Parshas Balak, and I want to introduce a game. If you're interested in taking on this, joining this game for the next 30 days, a lot of people have joined it. I'm going to introduce it in a minute, what the game is all about. It's a brain-changing kind of a game, an exercise to exercise a muscle in the brain that is pretty weak and lazy, and it's a lot of fun. But before that, I'll tell you why I'm introducing the game. Since it's Parshas Balak, and we're in the last hours of Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz, and we're approaching the 17th of Tammuz, there's a lot of topsy-turvy stuff going on in this week. First of all, Parshas Balak is Bilam comes along and he's going to curse the Yidden, and instead he ends up benching them, which is pretty topsy-turvy. It's kind of a big darkness, which ends up being a big light. What's that about? And then we're in the month of Tammuz, which the month of Tammuz classically, all through the generations, was known as the month of Gullus, because the main day of the month of Tammuz was the 17th of Tammuz, Shavasar b'Tammuz, when the luchos are broken, when they breach the wall to get into Jerusalem to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, meaning the beginning of the 3 weeks, meaning the beginning of Gullus and darkness. That was the identity of the month, the beginning of Gullus and darkness. The beginning of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, beginning of Gullus. That was the month. And yet in recent years, since 1927, it became known, the very same month became known as Chodesh HaGeula, the month of Geula, because Yud Beis Tammuz and Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz happened, the redemption of the previous Rebbe. So it means it's all topsy-turvy, that it went from the most intensely dark month to the most intensely light month. Well, that's topsy-turvy. And then there's one other topsy-turvy fact that is unique to this year. When the 17th of Tammuz comes along this year, we're supposed to fast. It's on Shabbos, and so we don't fast. So we really don't fast on a fast day, and the fast is pushed off to the next day, because the truth is there's a dual quality in a fast day, in a Yom Tzom, one of those fast days that leads up to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. It's really a good day, a day of connection to Hashem, but at the same time, it's very dark and connected to all the destruction and all of the gullus, and yet the deeper inner core of it is that it's very light. It is Geula in itself. So everything about this week is kind of two opposites, topsy-turvy. What you expect is not, you expect darkness, you see darkness, you really have light. Within the core of it is light. Within the core of the month of Gullus is the month of Geula. It's light. Within Parshas Balak, he wants to curse. He ends up blessing. It looks like it's dark. It's light. Within Shavasar b'Tammuz itself, it looks like it's a dark day, beginning the destruction. It's really light. Yom Ratzon LaHashem, a day that's pleasing to Hashem. What is all of this? This is the oxymoron of Yiddishkeit, of Torah. But what I'm suggesting, now let's switch to the game. Well, how good is it if we're still living with the old paradigm? So things have shifted from what was dark on the outside and potentially light, but you couldn't see the light. That was all the generations, to a situation where Yud Beis Tammuz, since 1927, less than 100 years. A day when La'osi Bilvad Gol Kadosh Baruch Hu not only says the previous Rebbe, am I being redeemed? Am I getting unstuck from whatever darkness I got stuck in, or I, as the representative of the generation, got stuck in? You have a redemption on this day. You get unstuck. You. La'osi Bilvad Gol Kadosh Baruch Hu. Not only I was redeemed, says the previous Rebbe, but all of those who love Torah, all of those who cherish mitzvahs. V'chol asher b'shem Yisrael yuchuna. Anybody who's called on the name Yid, it doesn't even mean anything to him. He lives in kind of a very concealed reality. Boom! He is set free on this day. So on this day that's set free, I want to introduce the game to you. And the game is, as I said, we live in a paradigm of darkness. And we're so used to it, all of our muscles kind of, and all of our mental muscles, they just resonate with it. The darkness, the struggle, oh no, what are we going to do? So we have these really well-developed struggle muscles of, oh no, I can't believe it. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. It's supposed to this, is that. We're so ready and attuned to struggle, to, oh no, what's going to happen, that if you ask somebody, what would it be like if you didn't have that negative muscle? Usually their answer is, I don't know. Well, what would you be thinking if you didn't have that negative piece? And most people say, I don't know. Well, I'm not telling you have to be positive or even act positive. I'm just asking you, if you were a positive kind of a person, what do you think you would be thinking? And usually the answer is, I don't know. So I began to realize that all of us, myself very much included, have this very lazy, almost never used positive muscle that just is, lazy and out of shape and needs some exercise and some developing, and this heavily developed negative muscle in the brain that just, is quick with the reactions. So I decided, let's do the game. And the game is the following. The game is, imagine that if you had the part of the brain that knows how to experience negativity, to say, oh no, what's going to be? Oh my goodness, oh, fear and negativity and all of that. What if it were dormant? What if you took a pill that absolutely made dormant that part of the brain that experienced negativity? That would mean that when something happens, you drop all, you bring home 5 bottles of milk and you drop them all and they all spill out on the floor. Your brain doesn't know how to feel, oh no, what am I going to do? It just doesn't register on that. Imagine that. That's the game. Imagine that. Your brain simply doesn't know how to go there. That part isn't happening. What would be your reaction? I don't want to hear, okay, it's fine. No, that's not the reaction. Because if you ever notice 2-year-olds, they're very excited about things that we would consider problems that they don't understand. I'll give you an example. There's a tape called When Zadie Was Young, and it's a very cute story about them trying to destroy a shul in the Lower East Side. And there's little Fagala, who's 2 years old, and she's looking at her brothers and she's saying, Mommy, why Manny and Heshi no happy? And so she says, Oy, Fagala, you don't understand. And the mother's, oy vey, Fagala, you don't understand. They're going to tear down the shul. And she says, what? Manny and Heshi are going to tear down the shul? Can I help them? It sounds like so much fun. She doesn't know how to struggle. She doesn't know what the problem is. So her mother's into the struggle and everybody looks sad, and Manny and Heshi are the 2 kids who are going to be, one's the bar mitzvah boy, and how is he going to have his bar mitzvah if they tear down the shul, etc. So little Fagala doesn't know about all this. She doesn't know about the struggle muscle. So she's excited. Look, they're going to tear down the shul. Can I help them? It sounds like so much fun. Okay, so that's the game we want to play. We want to ask ourselves, in any negative situation, we are not demanding of ourselves in the next 30 days, this is a game for 30 days till Tisha B'Av, if you choose to play it. We are not demanding of ourselves that we think positively. No, that's not what I'm asking. We're asking ourselves to develop the creative part of the brain that feels positive, that can think positively, and see that if we were to choose to think positively, which we don't need to, what would we be thinking? And I'll give you one more example. Quite a few years ago, we were on our way to Ottawa, we went across the border, Thousand Islands, in the middle of the night, and after we crossed the border, we realized we were in this big old station wagon. It was really a long time ago, and we realized that there's almost no gasoline in the tank. And a bunch of kids in the car. And it looks like on the 401, there aren't a lot of gas stations. I might have told this story before. And my husband was making Canadian jokes like, oh, so this is the road to the capital of Canada, etc. He was making these Canadian jokes. But there was no gasoline. So the negative part of the brain would obviously say, oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So here's the challenge. What would, minus that negative part in the brain, what would the positive part of the brain say? It might say, well, first of all, it's a no-brainer that Hashem is going to take care of us. So that's a given. So then, wow, this is so much fun. I wonder how we're going to get there without gasoline. Is it going to be that someone will stop us on the side of the road and say, I have too much gasoline, can you use some? Will a gas station suddenly pop up? Will we be able to drive without gasoline? What will be the miracle? This is really going to be an adventure, because the end of the story we know. We're going to be safe. It's going to be fine because Hashem is taking care of us. So we don't need to worry about that one. So we can just get excited about, oh boy, we're driving in a big station wagon along in the middle of the night along the 401 highway, and we don't have gasoline. This is going to be so much fun seeing how it's going to work out. Yay, right? That's what we would be thinking. But we could even do some creative thinking of, will it be that, without gasoline, or someone will stop us on the highway, or this will happen, or that will happen, or we'll suddenly discover in the trunk we didn't know that we have a jerry can. What will it be? We'll have all these creative, fun thoughts, just like little Fagel in the story. So that's the game. That's the challenge. And the reason to do the game, to just think at any given moment, you don't have to be in the midst of a struggle. You can think before a struggle. You can do it all in theory. If I were having a struggle and I didn't know how to struggle, what would be my creative thoughts? The game is to do it for 30 days, as much as possible. And the net effect is that it exercises that really lazy, unused part of the brain that knows how to be creative. Kids have it. That's why little Fagel said, what? Manny and Heshi are tearing down the shul. Can I help them? It's so exciting. And her mother said, no, the garbage strike. You don't understand. She said, the garbage is on strike. Can I help them? Kids have it. We put it to sleep. We want to wake it up again. Because when we do, we step into that positive space that history seems to be stepping into. From Bilam wanting to curse us, and it turns out he gives us a bracha. From Shivasar B'Tammuz being a dark day, which is really inside a light day. From the month of Tammuz being a day of a month of darkness, beginning the Gullus, to Yud Beis Tammuz, a day of redemption, a redemption for you, and me. So we want to start to tune into reality, because reality has shifted. Is shifting from darkness was the real thing to darkness is moving to the back burner. It feels like it isn't. But in truth, light is pushing forward. Does it feel like that? No. Why not? Hashem really is doing a good one. But in addition to that, we do have a very weak positive part of the brain. So every time there are these cute little miracles in which we're about to experience a miracle, we go to sleep and we say, I don't know what I would think. And hence the game. And if all of us play the game for this month, these nasty 3 weeks, which are really in truth weeks of Geula, what might happen in the world as a result of our game? So ladies, are you game to play the game? I know I am. I want to keep reminding myself, and we can do buddy systems to remind ourselves, you playing the game? You playing the game? Play the game. And surely by the end of the 30 days, that part of the brain will already be way more exercised, and it will want more, it will want to do more. And as somebody pointed out, as I mentioned the game to her last night, she said, and what do you think? It's just a game? She said, I do it. And I experience unbelievable miracles when I do it. So I don't have to only think one day in Mashiach times I'll see the result. I see the miracles from that game right now. So ladies, are you game for the game? Play the game. We're going to turn darkness to light, please God, and find ourselves in the Gula Mitzvah Shlema. And in this hour, this last hour of Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz, when we are all redeemed and we get unstuck, I bench all of us to get unstuck now, unstuck from our gullus, unstuck from the global gullus, and be in Geula now. Thanks so much.